The Stonewall Brigade and Hood's Brigade, the history of the most famous units in Robert E. Lee's Army of Northern Virginia during the Civil War. Written by Charles River editors, narrated by Jim Walsh. Introduction. April 18, 1861 marked the date Southern forces started pouring into Harper's Ferry, Virginia. 6 days earlier, shots had been fired at Fort Sumter in Charleston Harbor, South Carolina, marking the beginning of the Civil War, and Virginia officially seceded from the Union April 17th. The following day, men arrived in the town where John Brown's attempted uprising was quelled less than 2 years earlier. The men came from all portions of the Confederate States and the border states of Kentucky and Maryland, but the preponderance of volunteers came from Virginia. Once the Confederate troops occupied Harper's Ferry, martial law was declared and so-called featherbed Confederate military officers, often referred to as swells, were replaced by professional soldiers with military training. One such man who arrived from the Virginia Military Institute was Thomas Jonathan Jackson, who on April 27th was ordered by Virginia Governor John Letcher to take control of the troops converging on Harper's Ferry. He did as ordered and began to form what became the renowned Stonewall Brigade. Jackson and his brigade earned the nickname Stonewall at First Manassas by turning the tide of that battle, and they would become known as the legendary Foot Cavalry by bottling up 3 different Union armies in the Shenandoah Valley in 1862. Although Stonewall Jackson and the Stonewall Brigade may share the most famous nickname to come out of the Civil War, it's still unclear whether Barnard B., the general who provided the legendary name at First Manassas, meant it as a complaint that they were not moving, or as a compliment for standing resolute in the heat of battle. Regardless, the Stonewall Brigade went on to fight in almost every major battle in the Eastern Theater of the American Civil War, to the extent that of the 6,000 men who fought with the brigade over the course of 4 years, less than 200 remained by the time General Robert E. Lee surrendered at Appomattox Courthouse on April 9, 1865. They were organized, trained, and mentored by one of the most revered military leaders in American history, and they made a decisive impact on battles like First Manassas, the 1862 Valley Campaign, and Chancellorsville. The brigade was virtually a spent force by the end of the Battle of Spotsylvania Courthouse in May 1864, which took place nearly a year after Stonewall Jackson himself had been mortally wounded a few miles from that battlefield at Chancellorsville. Not only was the Stonewall Brigade present at most of the major engagements in the Eastern Theater, more often than not, they were positioned at the edge of the front line of battle. It can be fairly stated that while these men may not have been more heroic or courageous than any other soldiers who fought in the Civil War.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?